Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Overflow Podcast. You can find us at overflowpodcast.com. Thank you as always. My name is Joaquin.
And I'm Jae.
And we are back. We are back and we are in the undisclosed Batcave location for the second episode that we are recording in the
Batcave.
I was going somewhere and I
I'm looking at you like, what happened?
I lost the...
Verbal pause.
But
He got hit by Mr. Freeze.
I got hit by Mr. Wait, how did Mr. Freeze get in here? Anyway, Anywho,
you went from being Batman to
like
the Penguin,
the Cajun guy or whatever. Anyway, we are back. We are happy to be back. And we, as always, want to be, hey, what's up, Dennis? How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking.
Awesome. Our awesome sound engineer / producer / technical engineer / friend /
Ja.
editor
Beast of burden
/ mule. So, anywho, for those of you that were with us last week, you know we started a new place. This week we are back and we are super excited that we have this opportunity.
And we're calling it the Batcave. Don't ask us where it is.
We're calling it the Batcave. So, with all of that being said, what up, Jay?
What's good, shunning?
So, how are you?
Chilling.
What's going on, man? What's happened this week? Anything?
Nothing new. Just, I have ownership walking around the job. Just, I don't know what they're doing. Like nobody at my pay grade knows why they're in the office, why they're just walking around, meeting people, saying hi, whatever. I'm just giving them the side eye. My boss is like, I was already, they're ready to talk to me. So what do they talk to you about? No, they want you, this guy, me,
right,
to be more, what is the word? Visible.
Oh, really?
They want me to be at the rallies, the rallies for the salespeople. What does that have to do with me as an art director? I have no idea.
The rally for the salespeople?
Yeah, they have rallies for salespeople.
What is?
Yeah, you saw that scene in Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh,
like that, but of course tamed down
with all the cursing and
no cursing
and the drugs and
but they do give they do give away money, like all that stuff. It's so upsetting, right?
Because they don't give you any money.
Yeah, exactly. Or any acknowledgement, right?
I'll make you look good.
So they were giving accolades to this lady who was behind the Pepsi campaign for the Super Bowl, right? So yes, she did her job. She had the meetings, she had the emails, whatever. But this guy right here designed all the visuals, right? So I had to take whatever scribbles that she wrote, and make sense out of it and design something fabulous and amazing, not just for the newspaper, but for the ads, the billboards, all that, right? This guy. Was my name mentioned? Nah.
Yeah. So what you need to do is you need to walk up to her like real quiet, like, and be like all real like Godfather, and be like, hey, about 20% of that take you got needs to be handed over.
Dude, I was like, yo, can I get a Chick-fil-A card or something?
Hey, anything.
Just give me something.
I need a Chick-fil-A.
Even if she would have said, thank you to Jay, because none of this could have happened like without his amazing design work, right? All of his amazing visual,
right?
Like nothing. It was like, yeah, I did it. Thank you.
I did it all.
She got her gift card, put it in her pocket, and just kept walking.
Right. I mean, that's what I would do. I mean, like if I won a Grammy, I'd be like, I did it all.
And then that's the thing, right? It's not like
y'all did.
It's not like it's not like my title is graphic designer, right? I'm the art director, right? Just the fact that I took it upon myself to design this, just to make sure that it came out as perfect as Pepsi needs it, because this is the competition city, right?
Right.
Something.
Right. This is RC Cola.
I could have RC Cola time. I could have sent it over to the designers that have it messed up out there, right? But nah,
out there in the ether,
in the matrix,
somewhere out there. Nobody knows where out there is, but it's out there somewhere out there.
But
It's over the rainbow. Skies
Yeah.
are blue.
So that's what happened. That's
Okay.
what happened. It upset me for a bit.
So that's cool. So
Maybe I'm still a bit upset.
how about a couple of weeks ago? I forgot to mention this last week. A couple of weeks ago, I got a pay bump.
Nice.
Now I get a pay bump. It hasn't gone into effect yet. So obviously it'll probably be like another 6 weeks before it goes into effect, just because that's just the way things work out sometimes, right? Because as we said last week, that is how the universe treats me. I guess I wasn't nice to the universe, so it doesn't.
You don't have a law of attraction. You have a law of repelling.
a rejection. Even the universe says,
This guy.
No. So a couple months back, they told us that because I work security for Home Depot, so because our security team is our Home Depot's. Excuse me, like a Dr. Pepper is killing me. Because security is our Home Depot associates.
Yeah.
It came out that like all the other hourly associates, like especially with like customer care and that kind of thing, they get an extra like 50 cents if they oblas
Because languages,
because they oblas the language.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned it in an episode that you were going to go in.
Yeah, so they finally contacted me, and it was like, you got to do a test. You got to do a spoken
It's funny
test.
because you speak to the guy in Spanish all
I
the
speak
time,
to the
right?
guy, right? Yeah, like the guy knows. Well, what's even funnier is that his accent is worse than mine. Right? Like his accent is worse. I mean, my accent's pretty good actually, considering that I've lived here my whole life. But his is just bad. So they called me up and it was like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this test, but it's like 10 minutes. It was like a 15-minute call total,
Wow.
probably maybe 20. It was like, all right, Joaquin, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna role play. And I'm gonna role play a guy.
I'm the cop and you're the Puerto Rican.
You're the Puerto Rican. So it ended up
Get on the floor! Get on the floor!
Well, so actually it ended up with me being chased by the police. I don't know how that happened. No, I was throwing knives. No,
No, you're Puerto Rican. It was box cutters.
box cutters. I was throwing box cutters.
Probably just talking too loud.
that could be true. That could also be true. No, but it was like a role play. It was like, hey, I'm looking for my friend. Is he here? So you got to pretend that you looked him up, and then give him directions to a store. I mean, it was funny, but
So it was work related.
Right. So I did it. Excuse me, I did it. They were like, "Oh man, great job!" And then, like 5 minutes later, my supervisor's like, "Hey man, they're gonna send the paperwork. We're putting it in. So 50 cents an hour. Hopefully, in the next couple of weeks, I'll be making about just that 50 cent is like $1,000 extra a year.
That's dope.
Which once you factor out taxes and so about $1.50. About $1.50 next extra a year.
That's dope.
I'm gonna be rolling in the nickels.
You see?
That's right. The universe doesn't like me, but God does.
Speaking Spanish actually does have its benefit.
Finally paid off.
Yo, what was I gonna say?
I asked for retroactive pay, but they kind of laughed at me. I was like 10 years, y'all.
They were like, no comprendo.
No comprende. No speaky. So I'm like, I'm speaking to you in English. No speaking English. So I spoke in Spanish, and they were like, I don't understand what you're saying.
So what are you saying? So do you speak English?
Jerks.
So I forgot to
I'm
mention last week. Remember how I always talk about this older New Yorker that works at Cox Media with me?
Yes.
He's from Brooklyn, like this older Jewish guy.
His name's like Eddie.
No, his name is Lou.
Joe.
His name is Lou.
Bernard.
Anyway, so he comes over to me last week,
David.
right? And he's like, "Hey, Jay." Right? So I'm on a new floor, right? So he's like, "Hey, what's going on, Lou? What's going on?" He's like, he sits down next to me. He's like, "Finally, football is over. Now we can talk about the Yankees and nobody's gonna get mad." I'm like, we're still in Atlanta. Everyone's still gonna get mad at us.
Spring training is still a couple of weeks away. I think.
Actually, it's
right?
It's actually, according to Lou, 9 days.
9.
Right?
So a couple of weeks.
No, but I'm saying, like, he was specific. He was like, football is over. So, like, real advice. So, hey, not just 9 days away. They're gonna they start calling down the pitchers and the catchers, and I'm like, Lou, can you get away from me right now? Come back to me when spring training starts. right?
Yeah.
Spring training starts. Come back. We'll start these conversations.
Last week after the Super
Like
Bowl.
the Super Bowl was last night.
Yeah,
right?
Last week, yeah. It was like after the Super Bowl, like that following day, guys were like, oh, one of the guys I work with, he was like, well, okay, now it's time to watch basketball because, you know, the
Right.
NBA season's
Yeah,
on.
yeah. It's already on.
I was like, oh, really? Who cares?
Yeah. I'm like, that's the way it was with football. That's what it was with football. The Giants were crap, right? Everybody knows that the Knicks will always be crap, especially now with Porzingis, just like going to the Mavericks.
Yeah. Like no one cares about New
Right,
York
so I'm
sports.
like,
even New Yorkers don't care about New York sports. Okay,
actually, Michael was mad.
like I said,
DJ Michael was.
I guess. Well, I'm not gonna say it. All right, so I guess no better days on that one.
Nope.
Better days.
Zing.
Anywho, so let's go ahead and let's kind of jump into some of the
Headlines.
some of the nonsense. So there's a couple things. So now, if you guys have been paying attention, and this is kind of after all, like the last couple of weeks with all the abortion talk and all the the New York abortion law, and then in Virginia, and just the governor of Virginia talking about, well, if the baby is born and they talk, they got to talk amongst the doctors if they're going to resuscitate it or not, and all this kind of nonsense. This is kind of, it's kind of been pushed to the back burner a little bit. Excuse me, but right now, things have gotten worse in Venezuela, and so we always like to kind of point out, just kind of the stuff that's going on, so that we can be in prayer.
Correct.
Especially for the believers. There's not just the believers, but a couple of weeks ago this happened, and we somehow missed it. But it came out that the Chinese were putting the Muslims in China in like concentration camps, and basically forcing them to accept atheism, beating them, abusing them. And you might think, well, you guys are Christians, what do you care? I guess somebody might say, I don't know, but we care.
We do. We
care because, we don't have to agree, right? We don't have to agree with people to say, listen, they have a right. We might disagree with them, right? 150%, but they have a right, they have a right to worship how they want to worship.
Yeah.
And as Christians, we also have to support, right, people's right to worship. Because if you're quick to go, yeah, they shouldn't be allowed, that's fine, it's okay that they do that. Well, guess who's next? It's like that, that old quote, they first came for the Jews.
No, actually, it's first they came for the socialists.
Okay.
And I did not speak out.
All right, thanks.
Because I was not a socialist.
There's our fact checker.
Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew.
So I skipped the socialist and the trade unionists.
Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me.
Well, thank you, voice in my head.
Thank you, ethereal voice.
That's from a German theologian.
Was it
Pastor Martin Niemöller? I know I just murdered his last name, and I apologize, but I was thinking the same thing as you were saying that.
Oh, great minds or dumb minds? I'm not quite sure which one think alike, but so we want to point that out. Number one is that I know I started one way, but this popped into my head because I felt it was important because we've talked about the Chinese being persecuted in China, the Chinese Christians being persecuted in China. Right. So we want to, put in prayer also those Muslims that are being put in concentration camps and are being abused, because, let's be honest, right? It starts with them, but where does it keep going? And like the quote that the Dennis just quoted, so we want to make sure we're keeping those folks in prayer that, that God will work in their hearts and then they'll come to know the truth. but that God will protect them and that God will protect all the Chinese Christians because they've really been suffering over there. Now that leads us to the crisis in Venezuela, which is another thing we need to be praying about. Over these last weeks, you've had some military leaders that have come out against Maduro. You've had
countries,
I don't think there's any country on earth. I think there's like maybe two that are like still backing them up.
Russia
and Cuba maybe, and then so you've had some military leaders that are taking their support off of Maduro, and as we all know, especially in these countries, right? That's how these dictators, right, maintain power, because they have the military behind them. So once they start losing the military,
right,
their power base begins to crumble. Then you had the opposition leader who was basically, he inaugurated himself president. And he's been, and there's riots, and there's, even more hunger, even more violence. So we got to remember to keep Venezuela in prayer. I know locally there's a lot of organizations locally that collect food for Venezuela. So in your area, if you find
Russia and China,
the only ones still supporting them.
Yeah,
figures, right?
So Russia,
the dictatorships.
Russia is pissed at the European Union for unanimously siding with Guaido. Is that how you pronounce his name?
Sure, we'll go with it.
Yeah, Guaido.
And like Maduro was the other day on TV talking about, Trump's gonna invade us and that'll be a mistake. He's just trying to.
There will be blood on your hands,
Trump. Just trying to. Yeah.
But it's funny how Venezuela, they're more or less socialist, right?
I would go with more than less.
Right. But he's like, Maduro is asking the Pope to intervene.
Right.
Desperate times, right?
Yo. So, and the Pope should be worried about other things.
I heard some crazy number the other day. They were talking about how in order to keep the military in check down there, they had promoted like an ungodly amount of people to generals. And so, like, they have like 3,000 or 4,000 generals for a 25,000 man army.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're a general. You're just Oprah handing out generalships. Everyone's a general. Hey! We get more pay? Nah, you still the same pay. You just get the title. So, so a little more serious news this week in the sense of, China, the Muslims in China. We got to keep all those folks in prayer and keep the people of Venezuela in prayer. And like I was saying earlier, in your city, if you can find a church or some organization that's collecting food, I encourage you to go and donate so that they can send food down there, because the people are starving, digging through garbage to try to eat, killing street rats. And we're not talking about Aladdin killing street rats so they can eat.
It's a sad turn of events, and the thing is, regardless, right? The Muslims that are being persecuted in China, or the people in Venezuela, right? It's injustice, right? Mm-hmm. It's an injustice, and the Bible calls us to speak out and pray against injustice.
And let's not forget Nicaragua, because their problems are not over. They're still having their issues. So, so let's do that. So now we're gonna kind of shift to a little more humorous. Well, I don't know how humorous this for me and Jay. I don't know how funny this is. I would say more terrifying.
This is not funny at all. More for Dennis.
More terrifying. I don't know. I think Dennis likes these spiders. So
nope.
So this is come out. It was like a meme on Reddit. And it was I've also seen it on Facebook. And Jay sent it to me and Angel, and my response, if I remember correct, was no. So apparently,
I think it was like, and it was sent to me by my son Junie,
and Junie sent it.
Junie sent it to me like, what the hell is this, man?
So apparently, in the continent that is
the prison continent that is known as
Australia. They have found.
That's the reason why they didn't put any walls around Australia. right?
That it
They
needs-
just
that it
they just
needs
got
to.
all these snakes and spiders, and they just threw them all there.
That's why they threw all the prisoners there. They're like, we're not gonna kill them. Let the nature kill them. So they found these spiders, these wrap around spiders that, as the headline, the headline in this article here, elusive wraparound spiders seamlessly camouflage into their surroundings. And the crazy thing is that you look at this picture, and Jay will put it on the website so you can be frightened along with us. It's like the spider makes itself flat and
Right.
literally wraps around the freaking branch of the tree. And you can't see him until it's too late. And he
Until
eats
it's too late.
you. And he eats you. And so, of course,
Okay.
they're known as
So that's what it looks like, not flat.
yeah, it's still terrifying. Jay found a picture of it, not flat, still terrifying.
But that's the thing, like, because when I tried to look for it earlier, I only saw the same picture.
Yeah, look, I mean,
Yeah, I only saw the same picture.
yeah, like you can't.
So I started thinking, like, well, maybe this isn't real, right?
Right.
Maybe this is just like really good Photoshop.
No.
But nah, son.
Problem is that once you see it, you can't unsee it, and all you see are those little beady little eyes.
That's the problem, is that I know it's in Australia, but I will not go hiking again for the rest of my life.
No, and you know what? You've sent Uzu, and I think you're about to send him back to Australia. So we got to make sure we shake him whenever he gets back, to make sure he, shake off any of those spiders that he might bring back. Scary.
How big are they?
Scary stuff. I don't want to know. They're like 15 feet long. Now, 9 millimeters for the women, and the males 5 to 6.
For the women, not for the females, but for the
for,
women.
for the women.
Women.
Yeah, females typically measure about 9 millimeters in length, with males significantly smaller at around 5 to 6. But it says their venom doesn't appear to be harmful to humans.
Yeah, that's what I just read.
But here's the thing.
You're gonna die of a heart
I'm
attack.
That's exactly what I was just gonna say. You're gonna end up dying of a heart attack. Forget venom. Cardiac arrest is gonna be what's gonna be on my death certificate.
Venom. That was a terrible movie.
Well, I kind of liked it. Anyway,
It was okay.
It was all right.
It was okay.
It was all right. It was all right. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into our song of the week.
I like how this article
fine.
says, these spiders are found, surprise, surprise, in Australia.
We're at 23 minutes, guys.
All right.
Oh, my
So,
goodness.
Well, just be glad they're okay. I'm gonna say this is the last thing I say about spiders. Just be glad they're not those huntsman spiders
Right.
in Australia that are massive and people are like, oh, they're harmless.
Yeah, these things are harmless.
Yeah, everything that's harmless is what kills you. Where was that? Oh, what? Song of the week. So Jay found the song of the week for this week. It's a group that we featured them before.
A few times, yes.
We really like their sound, and they're called WYLD.
With a Y.
WYLD, and the name of the song.
So trendy.
The name of the song is Out Loud.
Featuring Jake James.
Jake James. And it's kind of like a rap
EDM type thing.
EDM worship type joint.
Yeah, it's
I
dope.
liked it.
It's dope.
Yeah, like Wild, like in Wild Stallions from like Bill and
Yes.
Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Exactly like that.
That's a deep pull.
That's so. It's like, what is that?
What, Bill and who? Keanu before he became John Wick. Yeah, so that's the song of the week now. And then, I'm so excited. The trailer of the week, Hobbs and Shaw.
The spinoff.
The spin-off Fast and Furious.
Which got Tyrese
Lo-
pissed.
Looks awesome
Dude,
to me.
yo, same, right? So check this out. So after you sent me the trailer, right, I sent that out to a few people at work. And this is one of the things that I love most about my amazing wife, is that she prefers the action, shoot 'em up, like ridiculous movies
Right.
more than like romantic movies or sappy movies or whatever, right? So I showed it to her, Right? I showed it to Magda. I was like, hey, baby, yo, you got to see this. You got to see this. The trailer for the Fast and Furious spinoff with The Rock and Jason Statham. And like, as soon as I told her those two names, like, it must be amazing, right? So I threw it on. Saturday night. And she was like, when are we going to go see this? When are we going to watch it? You got to wait. This is the first trailer. It hasn't come out yet.
Comes out this summer.
It's like, I don't care. When are we going to watch it? We're going to go watch this, right?
Listen,
It's like, "Tate quieta."
I'll say it now, and I'll always say it. The Rock's in it. I'm all in.
Dude, The
100%
Rock
in.
and Jason Statham?
Well, word.
right? I mean, like, come
Word.
on.
I'm just
And
saying.
Idris Elba's as the bad guy?
Yeah.
Dude.
Black James Bond?
Now, the chick, the female that's in the movie,
Yes.
right? Is she the Black Widow from Mission Impossible?
I don't know. Maybe.
I shall do my research on IMDb.
Oh, you should have done your research.
It just hit me. Just hit me.
But anyway, so yeah, the spinoff. Idris Elba plays the bad guy. They're bringing in, the characters of Sean Hobbs in. They're, the last Fast and the Furious movie, like they paired those guys together, and I guess they liked the chemistry. I like the chemistry, and now we're getting the spinoff. Looks like it's got crazy. It's got that crazy Fast and Furious action that's unbelievable because it couldn't happen in real life ever. And comes out this summer. Super excited.
Well, I just saw something interesting. Yes, she is.
She is?
She is. It's the same chick. So I just saw something interesting.
What's that?
On the IMDb page for the Fast and the Furious Hobbs and Shaw.
What's that?
That her character name, ready?
Natasha Romanoff.
Hattie Shaw.
Ah, so she related or a spouse?
Is she the sister? Is she
the ex-wife?
The ex-wife?
That would be.
Or the widow?
Or the widow.
Of the brother, right?
Yeah. So we shall find out. We shall find out. I'll be there. I'll watch it on Thursday, and I'll let you guys know when it comes out.
And I'll watch it on Friday.
So, all right.
Because that's one of those that movie made us. It's like, oh, when does it come out? All right, date night. It's like it comes out way in the summer.
Yep.
Way in the summer. All right, scheduled date night.
Date night. So, Pastor Jay,
What else is going on?
what you got for us today? What's that?
What else is going on?
What else is going on? That's it.
All right, so check
That's
this out.
it.
So,
Moving on.
today this week we're talking about active faith, and it's not just active. It's not active faith, the faith-based clothing line for the faith-based gym apparel. You know all that?
Yeah,
Yeah, I get.
I did not.
Yeah,
Is that like True Religion?
no, because true religion is Buddhism.
I'm grateful I haven't seen that.
No, active faith is an apparel line for like wow, I'm like losing my words, for working out and like the gym and all that stuff.
But is it like a faith-based?
No, it's faith based.
So does it have like, I can do all things in the hymn?
No, I think it has I can do all things as a graphic tee.
Oh, okay.
Written across the posterior, does it say, "Thou shalt not covet"?
That's Stop looking.
Stop.
Jesus is watching.
Jesus is watching. Oh, you're back.
Well, there are some that you don't want to covet.
That's why they're in the gym.
Right? So, but this actually, the inspiration for this came from the thought of people just like, oh, yeah, we're Christians. Yeah, we're believers. Yeah, Team Jesus. But their faith is only seen Sunday mornings when they decide what time service they're going to go to.
Play with the microphone.
Right?
Oh, sorry.
Right? Which service are we going to go to? The 8 in the morning one or the 11 in the 11 in the morning one, right? So I just like random things that pop in my head, and I start praying about it, and I start having conversations with myself about, because it's like, faith, right? Our faith should be active.
Right.
Right. Our faith should be active. We should always be active with our faith, right? As far as people knowing who we are, why we are, and why it is that we do what we do. So there you go. That's where it came from. So I was having a conversation with Junie, right, about speaking his faith.
Okay.
Right? About letting people know. And I was like, do your friends know that you believe in Jesus? Like, do you talk to them about Jesus? Like, no. Right? And I was like, yo, dude, you're 18, right? Your salvation is no longer dependent on me, right? When you're a child, right? When you're a child, I'm accountable for you, right? But you're a teenager, right? According to the United States, at 18, you're an adult.
Yeah.
Right? So you
can get drafted.
Right? You need to, take care of your own soul. You need to take care of your own salvation. No, I'm not abandoning you, right? I still have to pour into you and cover you and pray for you, right? But
get out the house.
But your faith has to be active on your own, right? And then I had a quote from, I'm not sure if it was Penn or Teller, but that guy. I was like,
that was Penn.
It was Penn. It's like, dude. So do you are these like your real friends, or are they just like, people that you know? I said, no, these are my friends. Yeah, you call them your boys, right? It's like, yeah. Okay, so wouldn't you want your boys to not suffer the eternity of hell, right? If they're your boys, right? Wouldn't you want them to be with you, right? Because if they're your boys and you trust them and you love them, or even your girlfriend, if you love your girlfriend.
Ooh. Whoa, Dad. Whoa.
No, it's this.
Whoa.
This is real talk.
Don't be dropping that L word.
If you love your girlfriend, right, do you not love her enough to tell her about Jesus so that she doesn't have to suffer the eternity of hell? Right? This is what Scripture tells us, right?
Right.
Right, no greater love has a man than this, that he give his life for his friends, right? So
Dennis, do you know Jesus?
How's your soul, right? So
Black guy.
So I'm talking. So we just having, and he's like, yeah, we're having this conversation, but then I'm just like thinking about it, right? Like, how many people do we know that they look forward to that Sunday check-in, right? But just for the social aspect, right? Because let's just say, like, with myself especially as a teenager, right? Because you have your school friends, you have your hangout friends, right?
Right.
And then you have the friends that you only saw on Sundays at church, and even as an adult, you have the friends that or the people, maybe not even friends, but the people that you only see on Sundays at church, right? And then, there's the excuse, oh, well, I can't really talk about God at the workplace.
Right.
Right. Or I can't really talk about God right. And I don't talk about God all day, every day at work, but everybody knows that I'm a believer, and everybody knows that I'm a man of ministry, right? That I go and I preach and I do events and I whatever, right? Like today, oh, Jay, right? Jay, how was your weekend? It was cool. We went to church, whatever. Or last week, Jay, how was your weekend? Well, Friday night, I had this big church event, right, for race reconciliation, whatever,
right.
And this and that. Like, everybody knows, right? So it's something that's been weighing heavily on me because, and I say active faith, but I was actually being sarcastic because I even, like, I posted it, I tweeted it, right? It's, hey, is your faith active, or are you just going through the motions? Because sometimes we can just get caught up on and people don't get mad at this, but we can get caught up on the rituals of being a believer, right?
Mm-hmm.
But not really be caught up in what our faith should be compelling us to do.
Okay.
You get it? So our Christianity, like when we first come to know God, right? We have like that first love Christianity, and we want to tell everybody, tell the world, and whatever, right? And then little by little, it just becomes just the ritual, right? It's Sunday.
Gotta go to church.
Gotta go to church.
It's Wednesday. Gotta go to church.
I gotta go
depending on
right. Hey,
the church.
it's Sunday. Gotta go to church. I gotta sing these songs. It's good to see the worship guy. I gotta get my coffee. Hey, how's your week? Oh, I'm blessed. Right? Like even the things that we say when we're in church or around other believers don't match what we say in the conversations that we have with non-believers.
Or even it's like you know. Because this is the struggle is real, where you're kind of like, it's Sunday. Do I feel like going? Right? Because it's like, well,
real easy to be backside Baptist.
I don't need to go to church, right? To meet with God. I can I can pull up an app and I can watch some churches sermon online or on the Roku or the Fire TV or on their website or whatever. I don't need to go to church, to commune with God. I can commune with, like last week, talk about meditating in the woods, right? I could go take a hike in the woods and I can meet with God there, and that's all I need to do. So it's, it's a little bit of all of those things, because even then, if you're going to church for ritual, that's not good. But if you're not going to church because you've bought into I don't need to go, to be around other believers,
right?
That's not good either. We've always spoken against that.
Always, and we always will, right? So, according to James,
the brother of Jesus,
right? James 1:27. We say this a lot, podcasts. We say this a lot, whatever, right? Religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this: to visit orphans and widows in their affliction and to keep oneself unstained from the world. Keeping yourself unstained from the world, or unstained from what the culture says is okay, sinful living or pleasing oneself over pleasing God, right? That takes discipline. That requires you to always be active in your faith. Right? Because that's like easier said than done, right? But
even with like if you're not active in your faith, your mind can't be renewed.
Right.
Romans
12:2.
Your mind can't be renewed, right? Because your mind needs to be renewed. It's all it all works together, right? Daily, your mind needs to be renewed.
Yes.
Right? Because we all know it's easy, right, to fall into or to slide back into, or fall back into some kind of, whether it's like a gross sin, right, or whether it's just the sin of complacency, right, just the sin of apathy.
Right. So James goes on. Right? I'm stuck on James this month, I guess. Right, James 2:14 on. Right, it says, "What good is it, my brothers, if someone says he has faith but does not have works? Can that faith save him? If a brother or sister is poorly clothed and lacking in daily food, and one of you says to them, 'Go in peace, be warmed and filled,' without giving them the things needed for the body, what good is that?" Right? And that always takes me back, and it's been a while since I've talked about this, but that always takes me back to when I was homeless, or before I became homeless, and I was going to like people who like I thought could help me. And, oh, man, brother, that's messed up. Oh, that's so messed up. I'm going to pray for you. Right? And I didn't need prayer. I needed
a floor.
Right? I needed a floor to sleep on.
A porch to sleep under. Something.
Right? And that's the thing, right? I would always say back when I was pastoring, that it's not just the songs you sing in church. It's not just the Bible verses that you have memorized, right? Because once you leave the building where you hold worship and you go out there into the real world where you're supposed to go and make disciples, right? Teach them all the things that Jesus taught, right? Sometimes we as believers out there are the only Bible that non-believers will read, right? We're the only Bible that they'll be able to see and interact with, right? So how active is your faith when you're out there in the world, when you're out there outside of the building, outside of worship, and you're interacting with believers and non-believers.
And non-believers, right.
Right? Because it's not just, oh, well, let me just go to the non-believer, right? To the believers as well. To the believers as well. You know, they need to see. I am encouraged when I see another believer doing things that I maybe don't think I have the courage to do.
Right. Well, it's like Jesus, Jesus said, love your neighbor, but he didn't qualify, your neighbor that doesn't believe like you, or
Right.
your neighbor that believes like you. It's just your neighbor, right? It's your enemy, whoever.
No,
And let's
because
be real.
Jesus-
Sometimes we got
Jesus
enemies.
Jesus went extra. He said, love your enemy.
Right. Well, and sometimes, and listen, sometimes the enemies we got are people that are in the church, and we want to,
Dude.
you're right. We want to be like, man,
in our family.
I don't need you, or I don't, whatever, you're just a hypocrite. Well, wait a minute. You just stepped into the land of hypocrisy yourself, because you last week we said people talk about, well, I just follow Jesus' words, right? Hello. Jesus said what? He said, love your enemy, right?
Yep.
Love your neighbor. And if you don't do those things, even the people that we tend to have more compassion, and then we think our faith is active because we have more compassion
To the people we don't know.
to people we don't know than the people that we. And I would posit, I would put out there that it's, what's greater, right? Is it just greater loving those that you don't know, right?
Or showing Christ to those
Or
that you
showing
don't
Christ,
know.
or showing Christ to those that are right next to you. That are the ones that you're interacting, whether they're believers or not.
Yeah.
But we tend to have this thing where we want to have an active faith towards the non-believer, and then we like to throw stones at the believers, right?
At the believer, or even worse, like at the believer that is struggling with something, right? Or the believer that you see struggling with something, and instead of coming in and have like a helping hand or have a word for them,
Right.
or whatever, or just like a hug just to cover them, right? You go and you throw stones.
Dude, I would say it's worse at the believer that you think isn't doing what he should be doing. Now, I've always right?
You always get on
I
that,
always
yeah.
get on this, but it's true, because how many times? I mean, it's something that it's like that old joke about the preacher that preached the same message week after week after week, and the little old lady after the service, when he was greeting everybody out, and he says, well, hey, thanks for coming, Miss Johnson. She goes, oh, thank you, Pastor. But she goes, I have a question. She says, why? Oh, these last several weeks you've preached the same message over and over. Why? And the pastor says, well, I'll change the message when you guys start practicing this one.
Word.
Right? And so, it's probably gotten worse with people always talking about the church.
Yeah.
Right? With us talking
With
about
the
with
church
what they're
talking about the church.
right, with what they're not doing, and they're not feeding the poor. They're not showing love to pick a group.
Yeah, because it's funny how more often than not, I'm not saying all the time, but more often than not, it's not the non-believer that's attacking the church, right? It's not the non-believer that is saying the church is this or the church is
Right.
that, or it doesn't or it won't. It's the believer.
Right. This is
Right.
listen. This is a horse I'm gonna beat to death. It's already dead. But I'm gonna keep beating this horse to death because, growing up in the church and then seeing people, that aren't. Listen, you don't tell me once again. Don't tell me that. Well, I'm a Christian, but then you're not even active in the thing that you are condemning, or that you are talking about how they're wrong, or
Yeah.
they're this, and it's like, well, first of all, read your Bible and remember this. Right. And it just struck me. But, who did Jesus have his harshest words towards? The Pharisees, right? And the Pharisees knew Scripture. The Pharisees,
Well,
right, were always,
Torah.
right? Well, Scripture. That's their Scripture, right? They knew Scripture. They knew, right? They knew the ins and outs. They knew what people should have been doing, what they shouldn't have been doing.
Yeah. They knew the law.
Right? So, is it just the person in church that can be it can be like the Pharisee, or is it the person that's outside the church that behaves in the same way?
Well, the thing is
Right?
that if you're that church goer,
If you're that
right?
Christian,
If you're that
that
Christian,
likes to throw rocks.
exactly. If you're that Christian that says that, well, I don't believe that that we should do this because the church doesn't do this and the church doesn't do that and the church, and dude, you're what Christopher calls a modern day Pharisee.
Yeah,
45.
You have the spirit of the Pharisee. Spirit of the Pharisee. Rolling deep inside ye. Spirit of the Pharisee.
Right? But then there's also the believer that, again, goes through the motions.
Correct.
Right? It's just a ritual. Oh, there's that word. It's just a ritual. All right. I'm going to go to church. I'm going to sing the songs. I'm going to drink the coffee. I'm going to say hi. I'm going to go to lunch. And then Monday, I'm going to say the same prayer, like the same words, right? And then they feel that God has abandoned them. They don't feel that excitement of being a believer, or they don't feel the love or the warmth of God anymore. But it's because they're just droning and droning on.
And so they like to. So I remember I sent you guys that video. Sent you and Angel that video of that
Which one?
that gangbanger who was doing the crip while talking about Jesus.
Oh yeah,
Pop locking the arm.
Yeah.
The armor of Christ
I got
and
that
stuff.
video like 6 times.
Okay, so
That day.
I don't know.
No, you were the first, but
So-
then everybody else was.
So I sent you to that, right? And I was like, oh my goodness, look at this dude. Well, that dude blew up. And I saw some of the other videos. Now I'll tell you what. This is one of those moments, right? Where I had to be real with myself. Right? At first when I sent it, right, it was almost like, look at this fool. Look at this dummy.
Yeah.
What is this guy doing? But I saw other videos of this dude.
Okay.
And this dude is like hardcore loves Jesus. And seeing some of the comments, right? That people were like mocking him,
Right.
or they were, and so I had to take a step back, right? Because this dude was doing this stuff, and to us, right? Because sometimes we think we're smarter than the average bear, we're like, look at this guy, he's doing it wrong, right? Or look at this guy wilding out like that, popping, locking the armor of God. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But he had no shame.
None.
All he wants to do is what? Jesus. Everything, every video he's like, Jesus, we love you. God, we love you.
Nope.
Jesus
All
loves
right,
us.
so ready? What's the difference between that guy pop locking and the British guy beating up the defense dummy? Have you seen that video?
No, I have not.
This British guy, he's like super swollen, ripped, and he goes around beating up the defense dummy and spitting out Bible verses like, oh, and the Holy Spirit gives me power and strength to, and I'm like, right, what's the difference?
I haven't seen that one, so I don't. The difference is this, I think. Ready? They're willing.
The British guy is scary.
This Mexican dude, like, he was like a gangbanger or whatever. It's like, this dude kind of scary too. The difference is they're not ashamed. We might not agree with it. It might not be how we do it, but they're not ashamed of being ridiculed, and they're not ashamed of being looked at as kind of like these weirdos or whatever, because their passion for Jesus that's how it's coming out,
Right.
and they're not ashamed of it, and I wonder, that we get so caught up in and I think this is what causes our faith to kind of lose its activeness. You're talking about is that we start thinking that, well, we don't want to look different. We don't, right? We've talked about, wanting to be cool, wanting to be this, wanting to be that, right? So we don't want people to think we're weird.
Right.
Right. But then is that mentality an active Christian mentality? When Jesus said, right, that we'll be persecuted, when Jesus, hey, they're going to persecute you, they're going to persecute those that haven't seen.
Right.
More than the ones that have seen.
Right. Yeah. So
So for me, when I think about active faith, like I said, I was looking at this guy I sent you guys because I was laughing at it. But then when I looked at a few more of his videos and I was, it struck me, right? I was like, and as I was reading some of the comments, it struck me, it was like, well, this dude loves Jesus so much, he doesn't care what you think about him. That's an act of faith,
right?
It's not me and you aren't that kind of person because
and it's not just so much that he does that. He pop locks and he screams out Jesus and he gives God glory, but he makes the videos and he posts them.
Right.
Because
he wants you to know that Jesus loves you.
Right. Yeah, it's bananas.
That's active faith. Now, I don't pop locks, so I wouldn't do that. Right?
Same.
But what does my pop locking the armor of God, what might that look like?
Yeah.
For me, for you, for Dennis, for anyone that's listening.
No, Dennis can pop lock.
Dennis can't pop lock. Master blaster.
I crip walk.
Disaster.
He crip walks.
Crip walk. So I think to me that's active faith.
Yeah.
When
yeah, I mean it's whatever it is, as long as it's funny, as long as it's active, as long as you're walking out your faith, as long as people know without you being too radicalized or without you beating somebody up over the head and shoulders with a Bible, they know that you are a believer, that you're a Christian, that you believe in Jesus Christ, that you believe in everything that the Bible says and what it is, right?
Right.
That you believe that, I mean, hey, even if it's socially unacceptable right now, right? If it's in scripture, I believe it because I believe in God.
52.
Right? You push on that. You push on that and you don't step back. Right. You don't step back because that's your faith. And the funny thing is, and I think I said this in a few episodes before, that I feel, in my observation, it's really only Christians that want to push back on things and be accepted the same as everybody.
Right.
Right? Like everybody else, Muslims, Buddhists, whatever, right? This is my faith, this is my book, this is what I believe.
I'm not
That's
changing.
it.
Yep.
And I'm not moving back. Right? So the moral of the story is, kids, that let's make sure that we do everything that we can to keep our faith active in our lives, and not stagnant. Let's not sit on our faith like the guy in the image for this episode where he's got a book on his face and he's asleep and the book says go because we as believers are to go.
So if your faith is active, right, then you're gonna get pushback. If your faith is active, you're gonna get pushback, but you're gonna encourage people and you're gonna let people see how great God is. And I think that's ultimately,
and you yourself will also be encouraged.
What we need to do, and that's how we need to think in how we do these things. So, in a crazy way, comes back to this gangbanger that accepted Jesus. You know what? It's corny, but you got to pop lock for the Lord, yo.
Pop lock
Jesus,
for the Lord.
right? That's how it's got to be. Like I said, kind of corny sounding, but it's so true. It's so true. So, last words? Is that it?
Last words is this. Step up and step out, right? Step up and step out. Let your faith direct and inspire and move your life. And your faith in God.
And your faith
Be
in
specific.
God.
Your faith in God.
Your faith in God. So pop lock for the Lord. Hey, thank you once again. Thank you once again for joining us. We're so glad you're here with us. And remember, theoverflowpodcast.com is where you'll find all the information, links to subscribe to the podcast, and all the links to the trailers and the music and all that stuff, and the link also to the Spotify playlist that we've got put together, and the song that we talk about for forever, every episode just about. So hey, thank you once again. Till next week. Can't wait to see you guys. Can't wait to talk with you. I'm Joaquin.
And I'm still Jay.
And we want to give a shout out to our boy Dennis. Until next week, we love you. Peace.